passe super, l'artiste, super, encore un but sensationnel. That's a brilliant bit of follow-up play by Mahe. Oh my goodness me, what a shot.
Sagosen setter det hen! Han setter den! De i semifinale igjen!
SC Magdeburg are your Champions League champions for the second time in 3 years as they get revenge and knock out Füchse Berlin and Matthias Giesel from a perfect season, claim the gold, and well deserved, I think. I'm here with a very tired Chris O'Reilly after a big weekend in Cologne. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm good, Alex. I'm good. An enjoyable weekend, I have to say. Nice to be there after missing out on Budapest. Nice to be there, telling the tale of my Achilles tendon at least 400 times. But there's something different about it when you're in the arena and in the hotel among handball people. There's an air of understanding and knowledge. You know, a mere 35 minutes before the final, discussing our early days of recovery, myself and Matthias Musche. After Bennett Wiegert shouts over to me, "Look, your brother come."
Yes.
Yeah, so definite air of understanding.
Any other fun chats with handball personalities? I was just thinking back.
Yes.
Really missed it this year when I saw some photos of, I think it was Hans Lindberg chatting to, it was a handball agent I follow on Instagram. Obviously wheeling dealing, but it was that lobby in the Radisson where the handball stars hang out, and
that's where the magic happens.
All the magic happens, and I missed sitting there with a nice cold Kolsch and chatting to our good mates like Omar or Kentamai. But any good sightings, any good chats apart from Musche?
Yeah, I got to meet the likes of Nerea Pena and Laszlo Nagy, good friends of the show, guests over the years, and Konstantin Agropoulos, of course, who we've yet to get on the podcast, but I think that's one we would like at some point. Chatting to him, you know, this time last year, me and him were in the gym, and then Mikael Damgaard had walked in forlorn because he wasn't allowed to play that weekend due to injury. And he just had to do a normal gym session. And this year, I couldn't even get into the gym because of circumstances. So we had a good chat, and Gabor Chazar was there as well. Another blast from the past, a real Velux man. A reminder we have to do that. Maybe that's a summer episode. Maybe that's the 300th episode when Brian Campion has promised he's coming back for. And and
the biggest sighting of all, of course, Brian Campion.
Yes, yeah. And it's quite funny because it's handball players of kind of different generations arriving there, and over the years, I've been at EHF events now since 2013. So there's many players I've come across many times over the years, but of course there's many players that you don't come across. And when you end up in like a triangle chatting away with Konstantin Agropoulos and Gabor Chazar for about 20-30 minutes, as I was in the hotel lobby, a bunch of other handball players come by and like shake hands. And what I think is quite funny is like that there's definitely situations where they have absolutely no idea who I am, but then still like they don't want to make it awkward, so they, shake hands in a knowing way as well with me. And then of course, I realized they didn't have my accreditation, so they would have had a chance to clock who this guy is. But as I was told, I also do pass for somebody who may have played for Skjern at some point and ruptured his Achilles tendon. I could be Rede Rasmussen,
Fair.
So I always find that quite funny. But yeah, it was, incredibly sweltering hot weather turned into thunderstorms. So everyone was happy to be hiding away in the hotel and not going outside until the late evening. Of course, Joey Williams made an appearance as well as as he does. He was there over the weekend. But yeah, good to catch up with folks, seeing as we've had the whole season basically doing everything remotely. So it does make me wish to be back in the arenas again.
And yeah, that's the end of the season. That's it done. I think that just hit me just there. Yeah,
Fear not, Alex. Fear not. Fear not. I think as our Discord discussed, I think it was Eugene Lavery saying, "Oh, now we'll have to do with Chris talking about underage beach handball tournaments. The European Championship in beach handball is around the corner." And
all right, okay. Magdeburg won the Champions League,
but this is just I'm giving people a reason why they should still subscribe to Patreon for the summer, and the Youth and Junior World Championships, which I think is always low key very, very good. So that's also coming up very soon. But yes, let's talk about the Champions League, Alex.
Magdeburg champions, quite easy in the end. Ultimately, Füchse Berlin weren't able to mount a full challenge throughout the game. There was maybe some brief moments of hope, but Sergei Hernandez with his 18 saves was the difference maker. But ultimately, for me, looking at this Magdeburg team, it just felt like they didn't have a single weakness. Like, not a single player below an 8 out of 10. In general, and it showed.
Yeah, it's really funny, kind of seeing how the general mood about this game shifted over the course of basically like 16 hours. So like after the semi-finals on the Saturday, we recorded the podcast on the sideline, which was for our Patreon subscribers. We were both sticking with our guns and going with Berlin for this one, and that seemed to be kind of the overall feeling that people had. It was like, yeah, Berlin have to win this now. Now Gietzel is fresh. They're all relatively fresh, and they looked like the better side. But there was this thing lingering in my mind, and we said it as well during the show. It's like Magdeburg are going to make life absolutely freaking miserable for anyone they play in a game like this. They just know how to do it. Maybe they're not always going to be the most consistent team over the course of a season, but they have been incredibly consistent in the second half of the season, and they were brilliant in terms of their wins over Veszprém and Barca. And then when it came to the afternoon then, and particularly speaking to the German colleagues, I was surrounded by German broadcasters on the commentary row, particularly like the older ones, maybe because they didn't want the upstarts from Berlin to be like, favourites, but they were kind of sticking with Magdeburg, and the whole discussion was the same. It's like purely on like the highest skill ability and like flashiness and who should win is Berlin. But if Magdeburg keep it tight, if they don't let Berlin get a lead, then it's Magdeburg's game to win. And yeah, their overall performance, their skill in every department, after like the first 5 minutes where they threw a couple of balls away, it felt like they barely made a mistake in the game. And they did exactly that. They kept it close and they started to suffocate this Berlin side.
Yeah, and no mistakes is a big one. I think for me, the big difference in the game was essentially that Magdeburg probably have the best fast break defense or transition defense in the world. It's them and Denmark, I would say, on the scale. And Füchse Berlin had nothing in transition in the first half at all. In the first half, there was nothing. The brief spell where they made a little comeback and Matthias Gietzel got going was kind of in the middle of that second half. But then it was Hernandez that came up and kept Magdeburg ahead. But by fully like suffocating Füchse Berlin's fast break or transition offense, they also slowed down Gietzel in the first half. He only had 3 goals. He wasn't playing poorly, and there was a lot of passes to the line that were wasted by this Berlin team in the first half. I think 5 misses from Marcinic and Max Dari.
Oh, Max Dari. My God,
Max
it just
Starry,
got
he was
worse
just
every
thinking of
time.
a sandwich. He was just thinking of that beautiful mortadella
Brian got into his
sandwich. Got into his head.
Yeah, fully true. I think when that, even like the second wave counterattack was taken out of the game, and then you just missed that connection between Gietzel and Anderson as well. Like I only really noticed it towards the end when they managed to pull together a couple of moves, and you're like, wait a second, we're used to seeing that 10 times in a match. Lasse Anderson drawing in two defenders, Gietzel shifting one way, then the other, and then the other again without the ball to run onto the ball, little 1-2s between them. None of that was there in the game, and I think Magdeburg, for the way they stood in defense, deserve a lot of credit for that. And yeah, when nothing is working with the line, nothing is working with Lasse Anderson, because also he had a stinker. He had a stinker of a game, 1 from 5, and just not what you need from him. You need something else from your big man in that. And then the other reliables like Tim Freihofer, who just was missing big shots right at the end of the first half, right at the start of the second half. And then Håkon Vestav Taigam ends up being your best player. He's he's the go-to player all of a sudden, because Gietzel doesn't have any space. And he was he was one of the players who I think could go off that court saying, well, I literally couldn't do any more for that team.
All of those kind of reasonings were just bets by Magdeburg. So they had to shut down Gietzel. And you can't do that one-on-one. So essentially put 3 players on Gietzel, which is the wing help defender. That's why Wessa Taigam had 9 shots, because that space was open. They lost that bet a little bit. But, at the same time, you allow a winger to go off as opposed to Gietzel. And those passes to the line as well is because that centre block is looking at Gietzel and focusing on him.
The amount of times we saw close-ups of Matthias Gietzel's face smushed into the court inside the 6-meter line with Felix Klar on top of him. It was a memory that I think will be ingrained in my mind.
Yeah. And on the other side, Christiansen was just phenomenal. Here I was talking about, he's injured, he shouldn't play, blah, 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 waste of air, waste of hot air. He is the Terminator, he plays, and he was really incredible in that final. 8 goals, and just very consistent. Yeah,
amazing what a couple of weeks of physio and some local anaesthetic in the shoulder you don't really need can do. I don't know if that for a fact, that's what happened 2 years ago, but basically everything that happened 2 years ago has happened again here. And Chris Jansen did mention that in the post-match interview. It's like, this just feels like deja vu. Incredible stuff. And he was brilliant. Him and Klar, what a combination of men. Except for Felix Klar's 2-minute suspension, the two of them played every single minute in attack over the course of both games. Not a chance for anyone else to come on. Never mind your Philip Faber, how well you did in May. He literally got 1 shot in each game. Damgaard got to pick up his final medal while sitting on the bench. And the two of them and that was a bet as well from Vigor. It's like, these two are my men. And just about worked against Barca, and it worked beautifully. And at the same time, when you have that strict play of both of them playing the entire game, and on the flip side, the strict rotation of Omar and Guy Magnusson and Albin Lagergren playing 15 minutes each in each half, also I think paid off. It was almost Vardar-like in the fact that they played with 10 men. But it truly worked out. And Bennett Vigard, what a transformation from 1 year ago when we thought they were done, basically.
From 5 months ago? From 6 months ago?
Even 5 months ago, yes. Probably the only, almost certainly the only team to win the Champions League, having had a negative, a losing record in the group phase, with 13 points from 14 matches, on the verge of elimination a few weeks before the end of the group phase. It's astonishing.
Yeah, with So Felix Clark came back after the World Championship. And since then, Magdeburg have only lost 3 games to Kiel, Kolstad and Füchse Berlin. And those Kiel and Füchse games were right at the start, where Clara was getting back into form. So with him in the squad, they've been unbeatable. Without him, 12 losses in the first half of the season, which put them way behind in the Bundesliga, way behind in the Champions League. But when this unit is complete, and it really is, like, you know, you need every single piece here to be working in perfect, like, symphony. It just works. And is it the most beautiful style? There's a lot of 7 meters, a lot of... Maybe they get a bit of a friendly whistle, Magdeburg. That's just about as far as I'll go. I don't think they play for the whistle. They will go past the player, but leave something in. Make sure to take an arm that if the shot is missed, it's going to be a penalty. They do that over and over again. And as much as the Füchse defenders tried to get their arms out of the way, they kept getting caught. And that's their style. Not everyone loves it. I think that's clear. I don't think it's as nice, but I honestly, in the final, it was good handball. I wouldn't say it was slogged down in the way they can take games. And the final bet by Wiegert, which really worked out, was Saradia playing the whole time in that center block, a Spanish, like, low-level player who's going to Stuttgart.
I would say journeyman is a more fairer...
Journeyman, yeah. Maybe journeyman is the right... Like, yeah, low-level is probably harsh, but not a player who's ever played at the top of the game. Him taking over that spot from Christian O'Sullivan. Christian O'Sullivan had no space in the Magdeburg team this time around. So essential in their last, in their rise, pretty much, and he owned that centre block together with Segstrup. He was casted aside. Maybe figured didn't want to risk another red card. That's fair, but Saradia got him a red card as well. And when Saradia got that red card, Oscar Bergendahl again came in and just put in a shift. The man can just will a beast of a performance, and he did incredibly well. So, yeah, no weaknesses.
It's a great story, Antonio Saradia. I think, like, he's had this one season in Magdeburg. Before that, he had a season and a half, basically, with Elverum. And, like, what a rise through the ranks to... And he is a man who I've always had a smile watching him play all season, because mostly not because of his defensive play, but the fact that he tries to stay in attack for as long as possible. Like, he really is. He's so goal hungry, and I was delighted that he got that. He got a crucial steal in the first half and goal into an empty net at a very important point, but got a tough red card in the end. But he was so delighted with himself at the end, like, gets his Champions League winners medal, and off to Stuttgart he goes. I think he probably will rise back up with some team in the near future. He's only 26 years of age, but a great story for him, and, like, one and done with Magdeburg before basically he is replaced by him, and Michael Damgaard replaced by Elvar Jonsson. Yeah, because you only need one of them. You only need one guy who can go both ways, and that will be him. Brilliant defensive performance, as you said, like the way that they dealt with, and it was a bit of a bet as well, because they probably were like, okay, if Lasse Anderson doesn't get hot from the start, then they're in big trouble. So maybe we just kind of like shift the onus to him a little bit. Let's see if he can do something. That totally paid off, and then it was just like moments like Sergio Hernandez's saves, like the double saves at times. He was phenomenal, and what a difference a day makes for someone like him, who managed one save in the semi-final, to end up with 18 saves in the final. And on the flip side, Dejan Milosavljev, who was the hero of Saturday, ends up with 0 from 11, and he gets the hook.
That's why you need two good goalkeepers. And Ludwig came in and was actually
Brilliant.
Kept Füchse Berlin in the game when it was looking like it could run away from them. So this taints Matthias Gietzel's perfect season. So thankfully he doesn't have to retire.
Jelena Bagaric asked him right after the game about that. That was her question to him. It's like, so the perfect season isn't complete, but like, what does he make of the whole year? And he was, he spoke really well about it. You know, he said, I'm not going to stand here and be too downhearted about it. It's been an amazing season. He talked about the how great it was to see so many fans of Berlin as well, and maybe something that you only kind of realize when you're in a massive arena like that. And so he had a lot of kind of love for what he and the team did, seeing the team as a real outsider in this sense when he joined this project. And clearly he has a proper affinity for it that won't be, judged on whether they had won the title this weekend or not, because he has committed his long-term future to the team as well. And it makes it even better perhaps for him and them next season as they go hunting once more with Tobias Grundl in there. But I think in that sense it's like it wasn't the most exciting final in the world in that sense, because we're spoilt over the years by dramatic free throws from Mikkel Hansen hitting the crossbar on the buzzer, stuff like that. Amazing comebacks at the Final Four. But I think I said it during the commentary, and I think it's true. Like in terms of a single performance from a team in a final, it was among one of the best from Magdeburg, because they did exactly what they wanted. They played the game exactly how they wanted it, and how they managed to flourish while pushing such an amazing team down at the same time is very, very impressive.
It was just a very technically fantastic game from both sides. Just 10 technical faults or turnovers in the whole game, 6 for Füchse, 4 for Magdeburg, really showing that quality from both teams. And, when we talked about just how close to perfection Magdeburg got. And honestly, they've been running on perfection for a long time. That makes, let me just count this again. It's so many wins in a row. It's crazy. You look at their profile, it's just wins to end the season. They suffered with injuries. They struggled at the start of the season. Yeah. But when they got into it, they were just phenomenal, and they pushed Füchse Berlin right to the end in the Bundesliga title despite those losses at the start of the season. Of course, out of those 11 or 12 losses, quite a few came in the Champions League. They climbed out of that. They beat Veszprém, and Veszprém are going to be kicking themselves because they had that. They had Magdeburg's number in their hands, which, then anything can happen. Like, it looked like they were the best team, and they almost beat the winners. Barcelona
Barca
knocked out in the semi-final, Füchse Berlin in the final. That's a run and a deserved title for Magdeburg, who go away from the season with a huge prize, but they deserve to finish with something.
What do you think the tweaks were from Bennett Figert for this team? Because the personnel hasn't really changed. There's been small things. There may be, like you mentioned, like the tactical decisions. It feels like the blueprint of how they play hasn't changed too much. So how did they go from literally being found out by Aalborg in the semi-final 1 year ago, and then losing to Kiel the next day, being the worst team at the Final Four and looking like, oh God, they really have to change everything, to going on that incredible run, beating Veszprém, beating Barca, beating Berlin?
It's a good question. From my perspective, having both Omar-Ni Magnusson and Lagergren is a really good combination because there is a little bit of difference in their style of play. Magnusson a little bit trickier, breaking through, kind of making space. Lagergren a lot more direct and really like slicing through defenses.
His timing is brilliant.
His timing is incredible. His speed is incredible within that. So that's a way they're just like they can constantly adjust the game and the flow and the tempo of the game between those two players. I think Christiansen managed to get into really good form, and that is what happened when they won it 2 years ago. It happened again at the end of the season. Christiansen just became the top player that he is. He becomes the second player to be Final Four MVP twice. You know the other one?
Aron Palmerson?
Aron Palmerson, another Icelandic, quite different, but both Icelandic.
I wonder, did he do it in a similar age? Because he is still only 25, which is...
Christiansen's only 25.
Which is... I remember when I was doing the preparation for this weekend and seeing that, I was like, what? Yeah, he's turning 26 in the summer, but he's only half a year older than Gietzel. And like we talk about Gietzel and Reistad, like because they're a day born apart, but 6 months older is Gisli Christiansen, who feels like he's had a career and a half already. His body probably feels that as well, but yeah, just 25 still.
I think it is just there's a little bit more diversity, and that's why what I was saying about the final, it was a better game than the slogs we've seen Magdeburg get into, where they really start to hunt the 7 meter line and repeat the same movements. Just go 1-on-1 and move on. Just go 1-on-1, move on. Just go 1-on-1, move on. It felt there's a little bit more flow.
I think they would have been ready to do that if necessary. If say that lead was cut closer than 3 goals, because I think that's basically as close as Berlin came in the second half, and that was still the case with 10 minutes left to play, just 3 between them. But like if it got down to 1 or 2, then maybe Magdeburg would have had to pull that out of the bag, shithouse their way a little bit towards a victory, but they didn't have to. And I think that was, I think you're 100% right. It was such an enjoyable game because both teams were playing at such a high level. Like the first half absolutely flew by, and then it started to break down a little bit before then Magdeburg took control. And yeah, it was just, it's the kind of the game you want. If you're not a scoreboard fan, you're like, oh yeah, I want it to go to extra time. But like if you wanted to just enjoy some incredible handball in the final and not even follow the score, then you could have watched that gladly for 60 minutes. Yeah. And thankfully nobody was slipping and sliding around anymore. I heard why that might have been the case as well. Seemingly the Jerfor people were complaining that it was because of the flames in the opening shows that came up, because that they were on the court for the very first time rather than behind the LED thing. So imagine like this fire and then things splattering around on the court. The crazy thing though is they had them again on Sunday. I don't know if they turned the heat down a little bit on them or didn't do it as much, but if whatever they did, it worked because there was a little bit less slipping and sliding. Also got some nice feedback for the title of our Patreon episode, making reference to that as well. But yeah, thankfully there was no slide tackles deciding the game this time.
Yeah. Otherwise, so then Champions League season wrapped up. Thoughts? Is it a good one?
I think so. I think we have had the same, at different points of the season, had kind of the same issues with the competition, but I think overall it has been one of the more evenly fought ones from top to bottom. Like we had some drama in both groups heading into the end. When you have the eventual champions being on the verge of elimination in February, then I think you're on to a good season. you had a case of the old trope about the quarterfinal qualifiers having an easy path. That was knocked out of the park because only Barca managed it. The other three teams that qualified directly for the quarterfinals got knocked out. And you had the emergence of a team like Sporting, which I think was fantastic. And, throwing a brand new, Sporting are a brand new team, but also Berlin at Champions League level, back for the first time in 12 years. So there was, maybe a little bit of a changing of the guard there as well. You had PSG like almost being also Rans in there, and just looking like, even though they won the French league again, I'll be more excited about Nantes next season in the Champions League, because as we saw on Sunday, they showed they can play handball. Like they showed us
not a terrible team.
They are not. They're actually, like we've seen all season, quite of a good team, and they showed it against the Barca team that were hurting. And also in that cold changing of the guard thing, like also Kielce, dropping down a little bit. A team like Szeged, who finished low in their group, being on the verge of the Final Four place as well. So when you have Veszprém not qualifying and being this close away from not just qualifying, but probably going on to win the whole thing, then I think that had the makings of a good season. Also talking to people at the EHF, I'm afraid I don't think we'll be seeing 3-game playoff matches and quarterfinals anytime soon. I'm pushing the agenda as hard as I can, but they're aware that this would be a good thing. But apparently the clubs don't want it, so we can start writing the clubs and say, "Come on, guys, let's have 5-game best of series."
We need to organize every league in Europe to, not every league, only about 6 or 8 of them, to change their calendar, and then we're good.
That's it. How about you? What do you make of the season?
Great summary. I don't have too much to add on top of that. Good storylines this season. Good teams emerging. Ultimately, Magdeburg winning, but that itself is a great storyline, coming from the depths of close to elimination all the way to the highs of the winner's podium. So I enjoyed the Final Four. Probably not the most exciting Final Four of all time, but great handball. Well-deserved winners.
There you go. I think we can wrap it up there. But as we said, don't you worry. Live coverage from the Under-17 Beach Handball World Championship on the way from Tunisia in the coming days. No, don't worry. Don't worry. Maybe on Patreon. But we do have Beach Handball Euro coming up. I'll be over there in Turkey. I think take the summer as well to speak to some people and delve into some stories that aren't necessarily kind of time sensitive, because I think that's something, as the season is going on, we always feel the need to kind of keep up with what has been a very, I don't think throughout the season we've felt like we had to fill any gaps, because there was always something to talk about, whether it was in the Champions League or domestic league, particularly in the Bundesliga or international. So we'll take the time to have some long form stuff and talk to people who we may not have at the top of our minds week in, week out. So a lot to look forward to over the summer.
I think the question of whether Matthias Giesel just had the greatest season of all time could be, open the window to whether it was or not. So I do want to do an episode on that and dive into the greatest seasons of all time from individual players.
That sounds like a good one to get Bjorn and Rasmus in on. So
Rasmus is going to bring up some player from 1947 who
took the field handball world by storm.
Exactly. Dominated the field handball game.
Lovely. We'll wrap it up there. Thanks everyone for your support throughout the season, and we'll be back again soon, both on the free feed and of course on Patreon. So until then, from Alex and myself, it's goodbye.